Welcome to the Nutrition by Karmen podcast. Happy Monday, everybody. If you're listening to this on a Monday morning, or just, I hope you're having a great day, no matter what day and time you're listening to this episode. This is a great topic that I am so excited to talk about today. I'm sure I say that every week, but I just love this stuff clearly. And this topic is something that a lot of you might not know about. A lot of you may have heard about this, but there may not have been any context around this discussion. And so this is something that's come up recently with a bunch of my one-on-one nutrition clients, and that is how to eat to 80% fullness and why that is so important, not only for overall health, but for fat loss as well. And so this is a really, really great topic. At least I think it's great, just because, again, it is something that isn't spoken too much about. So as always, if you are sitting down listening to this episode, I would encourage you to stand up, walk around your apartment, your house, wherever, just to get those steps in while you are listening and hopefully getting some really, really great information. So let's just dive right in here. So I want to talk about this because it is such a common thing for people to eat their meals so quickly. And I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But before I do that, when we talk about eating to 80% full, what does that mean exactly? Like, what is 80%? So basically, if I tell one of my nutrition clients, let's try and eat to 80% full, that means that you enjoy your meal, but you stop eating when you are just about satisfied. So you are not still feeling hungry or hunger pains. You are not stuffed, like you don't feel the need or the urge to unbutton your jeans. And you don't feel completely full. Like you don't feel like, I probably had a couple bites too many. So really it's sort of that sweet spot about feeling content, feeling really satisfied with the meal you just ate, while also maybe having a little bit of extra room left over. And so why do we love talking about 80%? There's so many 80 numbers. Well, there's two really when it comes to fat loss. So you'll hear like the 80-20 rule, eating 80% whole foods and 20% fun foods. And now here we're talking about eating to 80% fullness. So the best thing about eating to 80% fullness is that you are still able to be satisfied at the meals you're having. But if you're doing this consistently over a long period of time, you will likely be putting yourself naturally this way in a calorie deficit. And as we all know by now, you have to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose body fat. That is a fact, that is scientific, and that is the only way you will lose body fat. And so if we are only eating to 80% fullness, there's that 20% that we are not eating. And so that is a slight calorie deficit. And the great thing about that, though, is that you are still able and should be able, if you're eating whole foods with minimal ingredients, you should be able to feel absolutely satisfied with that meal eating to 80%. So hopefully that all sort of sounds and makes sense. Now, what I want to say, because this has happened to a few of my clients, when I mention 80% fullness, they really fixate on that number and they don't know how that's supposed to feel, what does 80% fullness even mean, or how are they supposed to measure that? So it's a very common thing, to be honest, because we get so focused on the little details when really it's just a matter of stepping back and looking at the big picture. And in this case, I don't want people to feel like they're going to fail by eating to 81% fullness. There is no measurement that will tell you, oh, you're done at 80%, that is it. What you have to listen to in order to know if you are eating to 80% fullness is really, really learning to pay attention to literally how your body feels. And that is how you're going to be able to determine how full you are. And on this note as well, this takes practice, everybody. This is something that is not learned overnight. This is something that is not learned within a couple of weeks, unless this is your one focus and you are really, really trying to make this a habit. I work with this practice with my nutrition clients over the duration of their programs. And I've got programs that range from 8 weeks long to 20 weeks long. And sometimes we are 14 weeks in and we are just getting there. And that's okay, because this sort of stuff, again, takes time to implement, especially if it is something that you haven't even thought about or focused on before. So just know that, and to really be patient and kind with yourself, because there's nothing worse than trying something for one day and giving up because it didn't work. Well, you did not give it a good enough chance in one day. So putting that out there as well. So really what 80% fullness means is slowing down your eating, paying attention to hunger and appetite. And this may mean eating a little less than what you're actually used to. And so this is such an important practice, because we don't really think about when we're eating meals sometimes. It is just, so common these days to be on the go. I see, if I'm at a stoplight somewhere, I'll look over, I see somebody wolfing down a meal, and I'm just thinking, that person is going to feel hungry within 60 minutes of wolfing that thing down. So really, this is all about eating slowly, focusing on hunger, focusing on your appetite, and really paying attention to what you're eating. So how do we actually eat to 80% full? Why does this matter for fat loss and overall health? So I want to kind of outline why we eat like this, and really outlining how we can make it a habit. So what are some of the reasons why we want to eat to 80% fullness? Well, it encourages good digestion overall, because you're slowing down your eating. You're actually giving your body time to process that food is coming. And that is a procedure. There's a lot that goes on with our body when we eat food. And so if we slow down, we actually allow our body that time to prepare for the food, which is so important. And your body will thank you for that. It can also give you that enjoyment and, sensation of looking forward to a meal, because you know that you will feel more full and more satisfied if you slow down that eating and eat to 80% full. It also really, really builds a strong connection to your true hunger and nutrition needs. And, that is different for everybody. So depending on your age, your height, your body size, your activity level, depending on you as an individual, eating to 80% fullness will connect you to what your body requires in terms of nutrition. If your goal is fat loss, this is one of the top things that will get you to your goals. By eating slow, this will get you to sustainable fat loss. And that is true because I've lived through this. I now turn the TV off. I get rid of my phone when I'm having meals, and I really focus on the food that I'm eating. My goal right now, just be clear, is not fat loss. I'm trying to just maintain my current weight, but that doesn't mean I need to be wolfing down my dinner in front of the TV. So really, really focusing on what you're eating. It will also help to improve your appetite regulation because you're eating slower and you're being more mindful about it. The amazing thing as well is that our hunger operates on sort of a schedule. Our hunger hormones, I should say. So if you are eating your meals at roughly around the same time every single day, you are regulating your appetite, and your body is going to almost expect to get hungry around the certain times that you're eating meals a day because they love a schedule, which is amazing. And I've helped a few clients really regulate their meals throughout the day. So you don't have to be eating at 12 noon every single day. If it's within 30 minutes to an hour, that is fantastic. And you will automatically regulate your hunger hormones, your appetite, so that you almost expect that hunger to happen around those times of the day, which is amazing. It also kind of diminishes depending on certain rules, like if you're trying to hit a certain calorie target or whatever it is, because, forget about the calories. If you're focused on slow eating and you know that you're prioritizing whole foods, that is such a win and in my opinion, a way better thing to be focused on than calories and numbers. Again, another benefit of eating to 80% full is, it will increase your body awareness. And again, it will help regulate stress, emotions, everything. And that's something that people don't think about with nutrition, is our emotions, our stress, our mood, all of that kind of stuff. If you did a comparison between eating a meal that took you about 30 to 45 minutes to eat, you're putting your utensils down between bites, drinking water, really paying attention to that meal, think about how the feeling after that would be versus wolfing down a meal while looking at your phone, scrolling Instagram within 10 minutes. You are going to be feeling so full, probably bloated, probably unsatisfied, and probably annoyed that you took no time at all to finish a meal. And that is actually a stressor. And sometimes when we're stressed, we want to eat food. So it's a vicious cycle. So again, 80% fullness has so many benefits, not just for fat loss. It has true full body benefits. So those are just a few reasons why it really matters to prioritize eating to 80% fullness. So now I want to outline a few steps and ways that you can implement eating this way if this is something that you're interested in. And I think it is so valuable, and I haven't heard too many coaches talk about this. So hopefully out of all these tips, there's something in here that you're able to implement and resonate with as well. So what you can do first and foremost is start by having a bit of a smaller portion than you're used to. So, if you're used to eating a certain way, maybe scale back a couple spoonfuls on your carbs, for example. You can even use a smaller plate or dish for your meal. And as I've said before, if you've listened to this podcast, prioritizing your veggies and protein first, those are the key things to eat, which will help you feel satisfied and curb your hunger, because protein, I don't know how many times I must have said this by now, but it is the most satisfying macronutrient. It will keep you feeling full for a long period of time. Veggies has all the good fiber, water, so the pair of those together first is a dynamic duo. So start with eating those on your plate. Another really underrated tip is if you're eating out, I get so excited if I go to a restaurant or if I'm going, wherever to order a meal. Sometimes my eyes are bigger than my stomach and I'm like, I want to get this, this, and that. And then all of a sudden I'm ending up with way too much food. And all we have to do in these situations, so whether you're going out for a restaurant, or to a restaurant rather, start by ordering one or two things. And that is it. Because you know what you can do if you are still feeling full after eating those one or two things? You can, or still feeling hungry rather. My brain is thinking about fullness. So if you've ordered 1 to 2 things and you're still feeling hungry, guess what? You can just order something else. That is it. But if you go to a restaurant and you order 6 or 7 things, you can't just tell your server, oh, sorry, I don't feel like that anymore because I'm not hungry. So remember that you can start small and always add more versus starting big and taking things away, because that is really, really difficult to do and actually not impossible, but just something we want to avoid. So remember that you can always add more to your meal. If you are ordering takeout, and maybe it's a restaurant you've been to many times and you're used to ordering a side of this and a side of that, maybe for this time you take away one of the sides and just try and scale back a little bit, focus on your eating and just see how that feels. So sort of tip number 1 is starting with a little bit of a smaller portion or serving than what you might be used to. Learning to feel 80% full, it does require actually paying attention to your body throughout your entire meal. So what you can do is really tune into your body. And I know this sounds silly, but it is so incredibly important and hardly any of us do this. So if you're about to sit down to a meal, just take a deep breath, see how your stomach feels, and just really, really pay attention to how your body is feeling as you eat your meal slowly. That will tell you so much. Are you eating too fast? Are you eating too slow? Are you starting with those veggies and your protein? It is just all about that. And what you could even do is have one meal where you're prioritizing your veggies and protein first and see how your hunger is after that meal. And then maybe the next meal, the next day, you start with your carbohydrates and see if that affects your hunger in any sort of way. And that is actually such an interesting test to do on yourself, because there is scientific evidence and research backed behind starting with your veggies and your protein. So that would be a really, really cool tip that you can try. Obviously, I've spoken about this before, and that is to eat slowly. I have some of my nutrition clients set a timer when they're eating if this is something they're struggling with. The timer is for 20 minutes, and when that timer goes off, there should still be 1 or 2 bites of food left on that plate. And the reason we want to eat slowly is because it actually takes time for your GI tract to tell your brain that you've eaten enough. And there is that 20 to 30 minute lag time in there. So slowing down your eating really, really helps to make sure that you don't miss the most up-to-date information literally from your body, because that's what we're made up of, information systems. Your brain is talking to your stomach and vice versa. And if you're wolfing something down, rushing a meal, that lag time, that information system doesn't get the chance to operate the way it should. And that is why if you're eating way too fast, you will never, never, never feel satisfied. And that is because of the brain-gut connection. And it is so, so important. So eat slowly, try the 20 to 30 minute timer if you want, and just see how fast you're actually eating your meal. Now, this is a really, really great tip about honing in on those percentages. I said there's not going to be an aha moment of, oh, that must be my 80%, because that will just be a feeling, and that's exactly what we want. So do sort of check-ins throughout your meal. How do you feel? Are you putting your utensils down between bites? Are you drinking water between bites? This is a myth out there, everybody, that I had someone ask me if drinking water with a meal will harm digestion. And I just thought, oh dear, no, it absolutely will not. Your body will thank you for having water in between those bites, because that will just help flush everything throughout your system. So no, drinking water while you're eating a meal is a good thing. It is not a bad thing. So really pause to notice how you're feeling during a meal. Obviously, if this is important to you, you will do this. So on a scale of being hungry to being full, so being really hungry, you need food almost immediately. That is your 0%. You are famished. You need a meal like right now. Taking you from that to 20%. So, I've just picked out a few things. My starving feeling is gone, but I feel like I'm going to need more food. Okay, great. 20 to 40%. I definitely feel much better. I don't have a headache anymore because I'm not famished, but I feel like if I had to get up and not finish this meal, I would be annoyed because I'm still feeling hungry. Okay, perfect, 40%. Now we're 40 to 60%. So this is a feeling where you feel like you've got energy back, you've got a little pep in your step, but you are really not feeling totally satisfied. Like you feel like you've done something great for your body, but you're still not at that, was such a great meal. So that's your 60%. Okay, so now we're at the 80%. So this is what we want to target. So your 80% is where you are feeling energized. You feel like after that meal, you could go for a walk. There still might be a little bit of room for a piece of fruit, or maybe it's the summer and you want to get a little cup of ice cream. There is room for that, and you could enjoy that without feeling absolutely famished, or full, rather. So, you're feeling great. Walking around the block would not give you a cramp. You have room for some fruit or maybe a little bit of ice cream. But also with that is you do not necessarily need those things. It's sort of if I want that snack or that after dinner treat, you've got room for it. But also if you didn't have it, you would also be fine. So it's kind of that sweet spot of after dinner, like, oh my gosh, do I need something? Well, I could have this, but also I'm feeling pretty good. So that is your 80%. When you get to 90%, you are feeling really, really, really content, but you probably wouldn't really feel up for going for a walk. You kind of would rather sit on the couch, put Netflix on, and absolutely chill. So that's your 90. 100 is like you have wolfed down a big, let's think of, Christmas dinner when we might overdo it. I might have to unbutton my pants. I I just laugh because I've been in this situation before where you are just so unbelievably full that all you want to do is lie down and not move. So we do not want that. We do not want 90%. We want 80% to feel energized, feel like we could go walk around the block without getting a cramp. We've got room for some fruit or a little bit of ice cream, and that is that. And that is your 80%, which is awesome. And, you know, when you feel like you've gotten to that 80% point, stop eating. Just put your fork down, whatever it is, even if you have food left on your plate. And I know so many of us grew up where we were in a household where the rule was you have to finish everything on your plate. I don't know if anyone listening grew up in a household like that. But that is a reality for a lot of people, which is unfortunate. And I totally understand because I hate wasting food. But if you have been told to finish everything on your plate, that is sort of your focus instead of listening to your hunger and appetite cues. So, that really defeats the purpose of listening to fullness, appetite, hunger. So when you get to that feeling of, okay, I feel really satisfied, I could maybe go for a walk, just stop your eating, put your food away, wrap up your leftovers. It won't go to waste. You can eat it the next day. And just take a moment to sit and feel what your body's feeling and see if you are at that 80%. And that is so, so important. After your meal, you can also kind of do a physical assessment on yourself. So if you wanted to walk around the block, see if you can do that comfortably. You don't get a cramp, you don't feel tired or lethargic. You can motor around your house, do some chores. Like if you have the energy to do that and you're not feeling so stuffed that you can't move, then you are at a good level there. Something as well that is so valuable for people that really prioritize their health and nutrition is to make a food journal. And I've got nutrition clients that journal what they eat. And I also have nutrition clients that don't write a single thing down. So it's really dependent on you and what you want to do. But what you can do if this is something that you really want to work on is create a little journal, get a notebook, and make notes about the things that you ate and what it felt like after you had those things. And honestly, do not worry if you had a meal and you got to 100% fullness. That is okay. We are still going to survive. Life will move on and we'll be just fine. I don't want anybody out there listening thinking that, oh shit, I just had lunch. I totally overdid it. Now that's it. Life happens. I get it. But what we can do is just make sure our next meal is a really, really, really great choice. And we are also prioritizing that 80% fullness. So the great thing is if there's a meal that you ate and you felt like you overdid it, that is a great data point. So maybe that meal you ate within 5 minutes. Maybe you were eating your carbs first. Maybe you were eating your meal in front of the TV or scrolling Instagram without actually paying attention to what you were eating. And again, it's sort of the same if you didn't eat enough and you felt full. This is all workable, and this is why I say this stuff takes time, because you're not going to be perfect at every single meal. That's just not going to happen. It's really not a reality for all of us. But what you can do in your notebook is just do 2 columns. So on the left, what I ate, and you can say if it was breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and how I felt. So for example, what I ate. I had a big salad with chicken and avocado, and I threw in some croutons. How did I feel? I felt okay, but really like I could eat more and I wasn't totally satisfied. What I ate, maybe you had penne pasta with a really, really delicious sauce. and then maybe how you felt. This would be the right side of the column. It was so good, I couldn't stop eating, and I'm at 100%, unbuttoning the jeans. So it's just really journaling what you're eating and how you're feeling. And I know that sounds so simple, but it's all the simple things that I talk about on my Instagram, on this podcast, with people in person, that are the things that really, really matter. But the thing is, none of us actually do these things. And so they're the simple things that we should be doing to implement really, really healthy habits. And so that is another great tip, in my opinion, about what you can do to kind of monitor your progress if this is something that you're wanting to really work on. And again, like I said, this is not going to happen overnight. If you really focus on some of these tips consistently over the course of, I would say, minimum 2 weeks, and continue on from there, over that period of time, you'll really get some great data points. You'll get good information about how your body and how certain foods are making you feel. And this is a great opportunity to notice and tune into any patterns that are happening. You can just ask yourself, how is this working for me? And what is this doing for me? And these are some other questions that you can ask yourself. Are there certain foods that help you feel satisfied? Do some foods make you lose control, like the pasta dish? Or if it's a cake or sweets or treats, are those foods that are kind of tough for you to handle? Are you noticing any changes to your digestion? Do you have regular bowel movements? Are you bloated? Are you constipated? Do you have diarrhea? These are, I know they're not great things to talk about, but again, those are all indicators of how slow we're eating. Is your mood better before the meal? Worse? Like, how is your mood during the meal, after the meal? Do you notice any changes? And you might not, and that's totally fine. And really, really, it all comes down to consistency. And if there was a single word that I could use to describe healthy habits, nutrition, fat loss, sustainable, all of that stuff, it would be consistency, because you cannot get an accurate reading or accurate information if you're trying something once and then giving up, because that is just honestly setting yourself up for failure. And you have got to give it a good enough try for it to truly make an impact. And that is something that is so, so important. And, if you are struggling, for example, with digestion, I know one of our first instincts is to say, oh, I think I'm lactose intolerant, or, ooh, I just don't think gluten agrees with me. Or, we're always trying to look for the quick solution to what we think is our problem. Now, having said that, there are people that absolutely have those intolerances, and those are real, and those are, I feel for the people that have those things going on. But if you are somebody that hasn't been to a doctor to talk about that, has not gotten proper blood work done, but you are feeling bloated, stomach pain, all that kind of stuff, this is the best place to start, by tuning into your hunger, your eating, and slowing everything down. And I've recently wrapped up a client who I posted on my Instagram. Her name was Jane, and she came to me. She signed up for my program. Her goal initially, she didn't really care about losing body fat. Obviously, it's nice if we can lose a couple pounds. Her main goal was to get her gut health on track, because she had been living with an upset stomach pretty much daily, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, all of that uncomfortable stuff. And she didn't know why. And also, this is not normal. So if you think that's normal, it is not. And so throughout the course of my program, we really worked together on balancing our meals. So prioritizing that whole food deliciousness with, lots of fruits and veggies, whole grains, all that kind of stuff that I talk about nonstop. And we really focused on her eating slowly, taking 20 to 30 minutes, focusing on a meal, because that was such a huge factor in one of the reasons why she was having all this stomach pain, because typically she'd be eating really fast and not paying attention to what she was eating. And so over the course of days and weeks and her 8-week program, she ended her program with me with not a single upset stomach in weeks. Still a little bit of bloating left, but nothing compared to what she was used to dealing with before. And we did nothing fancy. We did nothing crazy. We did not cut out any single food group. All we did was pay attention to 80% full, slowing down the eating, and listening to her body. She also made a food journal as well with what she ate and how she felt. And then based on that, she had amazing data that she was like, okay, these more calorie dense foods are hard to control. But having that written down on a piece of paper, she knew that going into the next calorie dense meal, that this is a tough point for her, but she knows what to do. Put the utensils down, have some water, put the phone away, and that is that. And so after so long, years and years of her struggling with upset stomach, digestive issues, and gut health pain, like it is just awful. But in 8 weeks with kind of tweaking some of these habits, she feels so much better now, and she can go to her office at work without worrying about, oh gosh, am I gonna have to run to the washroom? Because there's nothing worse than that. But the solution to that was really implementing sustainable, simple things that we can do in our every single day life. And so that is just a real life example and something I think we all can benefit from. And the other thing that I love to do, if you have a family dinner or a dinner out with friends or whatever, something I tell my clients, and I do this myself, is that try and make it a point to be the last person at that table with food on your plate. So ideally, everyone will have finished their meal and you are still eating slowly with some bites left on your plate. That is such a good internal sort of test you can do with yourself. You don't have to announce to the group, oh, everybody, I'm going to eat slow, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to do that. Just, it's a little something you can do with yourself. And just focus on, okay, I'm really slowing down. I'm engaging in conversation. And the difference in how you're going to feel overall is unbelievable. And so this is just an 80% fullness topic that I hope you found super, super helpful. And again, if you're on a fat loss journey and you are struggling right now, check your meals. Maybe this is an area where you can scale back, make those portions a little smaller, and just kind of make some small tweaks like that. And paying attention to your body cues, your appetite, your hunger, how your body feels. Can you go for a walk after a meal? All of these things that we don't hear too much about. And so I really, really, really hope that this was an informative podcast episode for you all listening. Obviously, I help clients with fat loss, but again, like the client I just described, her goal was not fat loss. It was working on her gut health. But with that means we have to work on our eating. So everything is intertwined. Everything is connected regardless of your goals. For me personally, I'm trying to just maintain the weight I'm at now. but I'm still prioritizing eating really slowly, focusing on my meals, because that just helps you feel so good overall. And yeah, so that kind of wraps up this episode. I really, really hope you enjoyed it. And as I've said before, I'm so grateful to everyone out there that listens. If I have someone that says, "Oh, I listened to your podcast episode," I just feel so touched because I don't really know who is listening to it. But the feedback has been amazing. And with that, I would love, love, love to get some more written reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening, because again, this will just reach so many more people. And, you know, if I can help even just one person listening with something, I mean, that's just the dream. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm always happy to answer questions after the fact as well, if there was something that didn't quite make sense or whatever it was. But thank you so, so much. And I cannot wait to put the next episode out there for everybody. Have an amazing day. Enjoy your meals, and let's eat really slowly so that our body thanks us for doing so. Have an amazing day, everybody. See ya.